Welcome to Shutter Sport Girl Talk, your home for all things women's sports. Whether it's chatting about our own experiences as industry professionals or gossiping about the biggest leagues, we want to break into the conversation. I'm your host, Katie LeBoutillier, and today I will be taking you through my guide to the 59th Super Bowl. Or, in other words, a girl's guide to the Super Bowl. Alright, we're going to go through everything from the lore behind these teams, the backstories that got them here, players to watch, halftime show, and more. So basically, keep listening if you want to be the most informed person at your Super Bowl party. Although I do not make any promises with that statement. But let's just start off with the facts. This year's Super Bowl will be the 59th rendition of the February Classic, and it will take place in New Orleans on February 9th. The NFC champions, the Philadelphia Eagles, will face off against the AFC champions in the Kansas City Chiefs. So now that you know the basics, let's see how we got here. The Eagles finished first in the NFC East Division and second in their conference with a 14-3 record. That put them into the wild card weekend, where they beat the Green Bay Packers with a score of 22-10. While they came out on top, this was not the Eagles' best performance, so fans were kind of unsure who would win when they played in the divisional playoffs, where they played the LA Rams. But obviously, the Eagles once again came out victorious, defeating the Rams 28-22. And since their wildcard game, the Eagles have been trending in the right direction because they also won, obviously, in the conference championships with a dominant 55-23 win over a very young Washington Commanders team, sending them to their fourth Super Bowl in franchise history. Despite making it to the big game 4 times, the Eagles have only won one championship, and that was back in 2018 against the New England Patriots. Which honestly feels like yesterday, but come to think of it, that's 7 years ago, so time isn't real. Eagles fans may be having a little deja vu because the last time they were in the Super Bowl was in 2023 against the Kansas City Chiefs again. But we will talk more about that rematch later. Because now looking at the Chiefs' road to the Super Bowl this year, they finished first in their conference and division with nearly a perfect season, a record of 15-2. One loss we'll talk about again a little bit later when they played the Bills. And their last loss of the season pissed me the F off as a Bengals fan. Because they lost 38-0 to the Broncos because they played their bench squad because they didn't want Mahomes to get hurt. And in case you didn't know, the Bengals would have gotten into the playoffs had they won that game. The Bengals needed 500 things to happen, and the last and only thing that didn't happen was the Chiefs winning that game, which makes me so mad, but that's okay. Anyway, they finished 15-2. They clinched a bye past the wildcard weekend, and in the divisional playoffs, they faced off against the 10-7 Texans, who made it out of a very, very weak AFC South division. Now, despite many fans' hopes, and certainly mine, the Chiefs beat the Texans 23-14 to advance to their 7th straight AFC Championship game. Now, I say despite many fans' hopes because of that. The people are simply getting bored of Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. They just seem to win every time, and it's taking the fun out of the game. 7 straight AFC championships is kind of crazy. Last time they lost it, though, hey, who is the quarterback? Joe Burrow. Guys, this podcast isn't about the Bengals, I promise. They come up. They come up every once in a while. They're also looking to win their 3rd straight Super Bowl, looking for the first three-peat in the Super Bowl era. Talk about a snooze fest. Let someone else win. Now, as a Cincinnati Bengals fan, I may have some bias, but I speak for the people when I say we are sick of the Chiefs propaganda. Anyway, the Chiefs are in the conference championship yet again, or they were. Obviously, we're just going through the timeline here. So they made their way back to the conference championships, where they played the Buffalo Bills, the last hope for the general football fan to not have a Chiefs Super Bowl. Now, some backstory here. The Chiefs and the Bills are a marquee matchup with 2 incredibly talented quarterbacks. Patrick Mahomes, obviously, for the Chiefs, and Josh Allen. They were squaring up in this one, and this matchup was the one that kind of gave those rooting for the Chiefs lost hope. See, this is because the Bills were the first team to hand the Chiefs a loss this season. They started off the season on a 9-game win streak, but got their first loss to Josh Allen and the Bills. And obviously everyone was very happy when that happened. But again, obviously the Chiefs came out of the conference championship victorious, beating the Bills 32-29. And while people were hoping for a different outcome, Josh Allen and the Bills have now lost to Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs 4 times. So the writing may have been on the wall with this one. That's a really tough look for Josh Allen and Bills fans in general. I was rooting for them because despite being a Bengals fan, I do like Josh Allen and the Bills. Like, they're a hard team to hate, so was hoping for them. And Chiefs are an easy team to hate. What? Who said that? Anyway, now that you're up to speed on what got us to this Eagles-Chiefs matchup, let's take a look at it on paper. I'll give you a little preview. So when you walk into the Super Bowl party, you're like, oh, hey, this team's supposed to win. That guy's a great kicker, blah, 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 blah. Because you got to know your stuff, obviously. We're not only there for the snacks. We are there for the snacks, but we are also there to chat about the game. And who knows, maybe make a little parlay. I don't personally. We'll talk about my parlay at the end of the podcast, though, because I cooked a little something up. But starting with the odds from Vegas, because everything does seem to be about betting at the moment, basically the Chiefs are the favorites by a negative 1.5 spread. They're the favorites on paper, even though looking at on a field level through the stats, low-key, I would say that the Eagles are the favorites, but maybe the betting is taking into account the refs. That seems to just always be in Mahomes' favor. But hey, I didn't say that. But you can at your Super Bowl party when you're mad. Like, when they throw that yellow flag and everyone's standing up like, oh my God. You just gotta be like, hey, Chiefs paid off the refs. And everyone will like you. Unless you're in a Chiefs household. Do not say that. Anywho, Patrick Mahomes, looking at the stats, Patrick Mahomes leads Jalen Hurts in passing yards by about 1,000 yards, which low-key sounds like a really big margin, but it's not that crazy, like, when you look at the split. Both are super talented QBs, though, and are capable of leading their team to Super Bowl. So, like, as much as passing yards do matter, I think the other stuff, where the Chiefs are honestly ahead, matters a little bit more. But where the Chiefs really have the advantage, and a part of the game I think they will definitely be looking to run into the ground, no pun intended, is their running game. Saquon Barkley rushed for a league-leading 2,005 yards this year and has been one of the most electric players to watch, hurdling people on the field, scoring touchdowns, returns, you know it. This guy's fast. He can get through defense. And again, if you want to sound smart, just be like, hey, I think Saquon Barkley is going to be a game changer for Philly in this one. Just say that and people are like, oh, you know ball. Even if it's pretty obvious. But I think he could also be, if the Eagles do win, a good look for MVP. I could totally see him having a big moment. Again, he's been like an electric player, highlight reel player. So I could definitely see him having even if it's not the game-winning touchdown, like a game-changing touchdown. Hopefully. Again, I'm speaking a little optimistically here. Some people don't like, this is off topic. Some people don't like Eagles fans. Honestly, these are probably the two most annoying fan bases. Okay, I'm speaking generally because I don't necessarily believe this, but speaking for the people, these are the two most annoying fan bases in the league, and they made it to the Super Bowl, so a lot of people aren't happy. However, I would much prefer a Birds win than a Chiefs win. So do with that what you will. But the Eagles actually lead in every other major category, like stat-wise. They take receiving yards by a spread of just over 200 yards. They edge out the Chiefs on defense when it comes to tackles, interception, and forced fumbles. So, again, I get Chiefs are a great team. I don't get how they're, so definitively the favorites. Because, honestly, this Eagles team's pretty scary. But another talking point, and this will stray us very far off topic, but if you want to be fully educated on all the lore, you have to know this. Another talking point heading into this game is the kickers, not only because Jake Elliott of the Philadelphia Eagles has 7 more field goals than the Chiefs' Harrison Butker, but because Butker's a terrible person. If you didn't know this piece of lore, basically, Butker is what polite people call traditional and what realists call a bigot or a sexist. While he has always been this way, he majorly rose to controversy in 2024 when he spoke at Benedictine College. It's a Catholic private college. In May, he gave a wild commencement speech. He took the opportunity to rally against Pride Month, working women, Joe Biden, and abortion, all while trying to congratulate recent graduates. Oh, hey, I totally forgot why he's here. He went on a 20-minute speech about God knows what. Now, I know we're a little off topic here, but in case you missed this back when it was prominent in the news, here's a bit of the speech he gave. Just a little quote from The Guardian. Butker later addressed the women in the audience, arguing that their, quote, most important title should be that of a, quote, homemaker. And this is a direct quotation. I think it is you, the women, who have had the most diabolic lies told to you. Some of you may go on to lead successful careers in the world, but I would venture to guess that the majority of you are most excited about your marriage and the children you will bring into this world. I can tell you that my beautiful wife, Isabel, would be the first to say her life truly started when... Sorry, that's crazy. Her life truly started when she started living her vocation as a wife and as a mother. The Chiefs denied to comment on Butker's commencement address. Now, I am not against women having children and women loving their children and saying that they're a light in their life. However, that is not the most important... Well, I don't know. Okay. That's not true. Mother could be the most important title. Like, obviously, you love your kids. You want that to be, like, defining factor. Not defining factor, but, like, a big part of your life. And that's okay with people saying, like, oh, being a mother is, like, the most important thing to me. However, like, generally to women, not all women need to have kids. I get that the ones that do have kids love that. Good for them. I think pregnancy is terrifying, but that's another podcast. But, like, that's just a crazy thing to say to all of these women who have just graduated with a degree so that they can go work in real life. And you're saying, hey, but the most important thing you'll do is stay at home. No. And the Chiefs declining to comment, like, whatever. That's not their place to really do that. But also, I don't know, crazy. So, basically... In case you were wondering, the other reason that a lot of fans hate the Chiefs, it's not that their quarterback sounds like Kermit the Frog or that they pay off the refs. It's that their team is made up of Trump supporters and bigots. Which, like, do with that info what you will, to each their own to a very certain extent. Not trying to get too controversial on this Super Bowl podcast, but I told you I would bring you all the lore, and in case politics tends to come up at your Super Bowl party, you are informed. Now, staying on the social narrative side of the game, many people know the Chiefs because of Taylor Swift. As someone who loves music and football and who went to the Eras Tour, I see nothing wrong with this. I'm not one of the teenage boys crying in the comments because they showed her on screen. I think it's a great way to grow the game and probably part of the reasons podcasts like this one are a good idea. Because there's so many new fans who don't know all this lore about football or backstories or how it works. I mean, let me know if you want, like, that actually would be a good idea, perhaps, is, like, whatever sport 101. I'll explain the rules. I'll explain how playoffs work, whatever. I know sports, and I want you to know sports, too. But I think that's why so many female-run outlets are thriving, is because there's lots and lots of more women getting into sports, and that's great. And if they do that through Taylor Swift, good on them. But basically... there are a lot of new football fans here because of Taylor Swift, and I honestly just think it really sucks that they're all going to be Chiefs fans now. Seriously, could Kelsey have not played for, like, the Ravens or even the Bills or literally any other team? But hey, my hope is that they get into football through Taylor Swift. You know, maybe they watch a few Kansas City Chiefs games, and then they realize that Joe Burrow and the Bengals are way cooler, and just go do that instead. And... sometimes they're way better. Not their defense this year, but that is okay. However, speaking of the Kelsey brothers and Taylor Swift, there are lots of more fun storylines. So it's time for another quick little lore drop. In case you don't know them, Jason and Travis Kelce are brothers who both play or played in the NFL. Jason was on the Eagles and Travis is currently on the Chiefs. They played against each other the last time these two teams faced in the Super Bowl, and their mom wore a jacket with both team colors. She did a coin toss. It was a whole cute thing. Now the teams are ready for a rematch, this time without Jason Kelce. And I said we'd talk a little bit more on this rematch. Basically, last time they played, let me double check my stats. Hold on. Yeah, that's what I thought. Last time they played, the Kansas City Chiefs defeated the Philadelphia Eagles 38-35 in 2023, technically. The Super Bowl is in 2023. That's a tough loss for Philly. That's where there's this really iconic picture of Jalen Hurts, like, walking through all the Kansas City colored confetti, like, leaving the field. Talk about emotion in sports. Another reason to love sports. Again, off topic, but hey. Gotta love sports. How can you not be romantic about sports? But yeah, that was, like, a very iconic matchup between these two brothers. It was a whole thing. Kansas City obviously came out victorious. That was the first Super Bowl, and then they won last year, and now they're looking for, not their first, but, like, of this stretch. And now they're looking to three-peat. Well, it would be, like, very good storyline and entertaining if they did three-peat. Like, no one wants that. So, I mean, maybe, hey, one person who might want it, Taylor Swift and Caitlin Clark. We talked about this a bit on our Ins and Outs episode, which is also a really great episode of this podcast, so go back. It was episode 7. Check that out if you haven't. But Caitlin Clark and Taylor Swift were at the Chiefs game together, and that's honestly iconic, and I hope they return on Sunday. Now, Caitlin Clark being a lifelong Chiefs fan is like her only fault, so I guess we'll let it slide. But it would be such a great moment for her to take in a Chiefs Super Bowl win literally sitting next to Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's mother. Like, that would be iconic. What a crazy life she is living. She's just killing it. Now, one last thing that I didn't talk about when it comes to the Kelce brothers, they have a podcast together, super iconic, New Heights, I believe, right? I don't want to get that wrong. Yeah, it's New Heights. I don't know why I second-guessed that. I totally knew that. They have a podcast together, New Heights, it's super entertaining. It's really funny. So not to put you onto a different podcast that isn't mine, but I think they have a few more monthly listeners than we do, so maybe check them out. Anyway, back to the game for a minute. While the Chiefs are the favorites when it comes to betting and general predictions, I'm hoping, and Loki may be betting, like not actually betting, but like this is my informal bet, the Eagles are winning this one. Not only because I want them to, but I think they can. If they play to their full potential, I think they're a deeper team. Despite their record, this isn't the best Chiefs team that we've seen in a while. They're still really good, and hate him as much as you want. Mahomes is a great quarterback, especially in the playoffs when he's not playing Joe Burrow. But I think the Eagles got this one. I don't know if I'm talking from the heart, maybe, more than the brain, but I think even just to rile it up, walk into your super party and say, Eagles win, even if they don't. But, I mean, you can say because you hate the Chiefs. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just like, hey, I'm rooting for the Eagles in this one, even if I maybe don't think they will win. But I think they can do it. Now, one piece of Super Bowl lore that I actually forgot to mention, Super Bowl logo conspiracy. Hey, we haven't talked about this. However, there is this little conspiracy running along that has actually has some merit to it. Not a lot, but a little bit. Where the logo... Okay, so the long conspiracy is that the NFL season is scripted. I don't know if you've heard of this or not. It's definitely... Okay, it's not like a thing, but it's like a thing that people talk about. I don't think it's quite real. Obviously, sports are not like that. Maybe some games are skewed, rigged, maybe. No, not rigged, but like I think the refs at least have someone they want to win. That's a topic for another day. But the conspiracy is out, the NFL is scripted, and when the logos come out for the Super Bowl, recently they have been matching the colors of the teams in the games. For example, okay, I'm really bad with Roman numerals. Super Bowl LVI. That was 2022 between the Bengals and the LA Rams. That was the most iconic halftime show. If you're forgetting which one that was, it was Eminem, Mary J. Blige, Kendrick, Snoop Dogg. It was so good. Anyway, that Super Bowl. The logo colors, little orange, little yellow. Bengals color, orange. Rams color, yellow. Okay, what a coincidence. Next year, 2023, we talked about it. Eagles, Chiefs. What color? What color was the logo? Green and red. Now, a lot of people thought the next one was red and purple. So they're like, hey, San Francisco 49ers and Ravens did not happen. It was Chiefs, not 49ers. So, close. We got one of the two. It's okay. So that skewed off a bit. But randomly, looking at the logo this year, what color is it? It's red and green for New Orleans. I feel like that, is kind of a random color palette for New Orleans. You could have done a lot more fun things there. But no, we went red and green. And who's in the Super Bowl? Everyone say it with me. Eagles, what color are they? Green. Chiefs, what color are they? Red. Yup. That's what I'm saying. Now, I don't firmly believe this. However, it's crazy how the data adds up. Just had to talk about that. While we're talking about lore, I don't think the NFL is scripted, but it is funny that conspiracy exists, and once again was kind of true. And oh my gosh, speaking of halftime performances, I almost forgot to talk about the halftime show. Kendrick Lamar with special guest SZA, and if you again believe in conspiracies, maybe Tyler the Creator. I am hoping for that personally. There's been a few Easter eggs, but then Tyler said in his comments, no, I'm on tour, you idiots, I'm not going. I think he's trying to throw us off his trail. I think he might be there. Anyway, I am certainly looking forward to this halftime performance. For me, I don't know if anything beats that Eminem. Sorry, I always say Eminem first. I know he was not like the headliner. It's like Snoop Dogg and others. And Dr. Dre. But that was one of my favorite halftime shows of all time, just for the music, not even, like, the performance, production value, meh. Rihanna was incredible production value-wise. I think Kendrick's going to be great. Kendrick is kind of one of those artists that I know way more songs than I thought by. Like, even, like, looking at the songs I've downloaded, I'm like, oh, right, that's Kendrick, obviously. But that makes me really excited, because he's just going to go through all his greatest hits, and I'm going to be like, oh, wait, another banger that I know. So I'm really excited for that. Had to get that out of the way. This podcast, I did not talk about a ton of stats. We talked about a few. I gave you the rundown on, like, hey, the Eagles are leading in most stats, especially when it comes to defense. And obviously, Patrick Mahomes is a better throwing quarterback, but the Eagles have Saquon Barkley, who's a way better runner than anyone on the Chiefs. So that's kind of the basic stats you need to know, is that it's kind of two powerhouse offenses going against each other, and maybe the Eagles have the advantage on the defense. The Eagles have been struggling a little bit this postseason to be consistent, and kind of this season in general. They obviously are still a very good team, and if they play to their full potential, I think, hopefully, they could win it. But it's definitely it's not wraps. It's not like, oh, obviously the Chiefs are going to win. Tune into the game, obviously, go to your Super Bowl party, it'll be fun. But to wrap things up on this podcast, we are going to go rapid fire through my Super Bowl parlay. Now, I do not actually bet, but I'm putting all my bets here so they are documented in case they all hit. But this is going to be the parlay for, like, everything off the field. Basically, coin toss, heads, anthem, over 115.5 seconds. I don't know if that's the official line. I don't think it's out yet because I don't even know who's singing it. But I'm going with over. Gatorade color, yellow. First Kendrick song, Humble. Last song, that's not even a thing, but Not Like Us. Talk about a great show, I think. I hope he should open with Humble, because, like, obviously. And then end with Not Like Us, because that's, like, the banger. First commercial, Doritos. I don't know, the stats told me that that's, like, probable. And first celebrity cameo, obviously, Taylor Swift. Okay. And Caitlin Clark, I'll throw that one in there, too. Bang. To reiterate, I do not condone sports betting, and neither does this podcast. However, for funsies, and in case I go 100%, these are documented. Please share your crazy predictions and parlays and whatnot in the comments or on Twitter or anywhere. I don't know, DM me. I don't care. Maybe don't DM me. Or do. I don't care. Anyway, let us know. Follow the podcast. Subscribe. Like. Rate. All that stuff. But I don't know why I have so much energy right now. I was up at 6 a.m. But that wraps up our Girls Guide to the Super Bowl. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and I hope you have fun at whatever Super Bowl party you will now be incredibly informed at. Enjoy your wings, enjoy your buffalo chicken dip, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Should I just close out every podcast like that? Super Bowl or not, enjoy your wings, enjoy your buffalo chicken dip. I'm your host, Katie LeBoutillier. Thank you for listening, and I will see you in the next one.